There is a moment that many women reach somewhere in the middle of life where the question, who am I now, rises to the surface and won't go away. Maybe it's a role that has shifted. Maybe it's a relationship that's changed. Maybe it's simply a quiet knowing that the life you've been living was built for a version of you that you've outgrown. Whatever the trigger, the question is the same, and it is not a crisis. It is an invitation. And that's the problem that we are solving today. And I could not be more excited about the woman sitting across from me to solve it. Jennifer Stanley is a midlife transition coach for women and an Enneagram educator and coach. And I'll tell you, her path to this work has not been a corporate line. And I told her before we started recording that I think that is a good thing because this is the Jennifer Stanley story. And it's such a good one. She's built her practice around a belief I find so refreshing and so necessary. The story isn't over. The women she works with are not broken. They aren't behind. They aren't too late. They are, in her words, so open to what is possible. And her job, the work she does every single day, is to create a safe space for women to process, explore, and step into the fullest version of who they are becoming. The Enneagram is one of her favorite tools for doing exactly that, not as a label, as a doorway, a way for women to finally see themselves clearly, often for the first time, and realize there was never anything wrong with them to begin with. So if you are a woman in the middle of asking, what's next? Or you know or love a woman who is in the middle of asking what's next, this is for you. And if you lead women who are navigating this season of life, this conversation will make you a better leader. So Jennifer Stanley, welcome to Being at Work.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. This is awesome.
Well, and as a woman and a leader and someone who has a very full life, stepping into my 51st year, I so resonate with your message. So not only am I eager to share your story, but I want to learn from you as well.
I'm right there with you. I'm in this season also. So I feel like we could talk about this over coffee or a glass of wine for a year and a half, probably. But there's so much.
There's just so much. But start with why. Why women in this stage of life?
Okay. Well, I feel like the reason I want to work with this woman is because I have lived through a lot of those what next seasons. And most recently it was when I was like 47, 48, right there. And I looked at the career I had and my health, and I looked at just kind of the way my family was operating. And I just thought, I don't want to keep doing it this way. And so I sort of pivoted in my career, and I just thought, what if I could do anything, like what would be next for me? And who even am I now? I just don't feel like the same person that I was in my 20s and 30s and up to that point. And so I've really been through that what next season and process, and I'm passionate about helping other people, other women especially, to go through it with a lot of hope.
Yeah, because your perspective is it is an invitation. How is it an invitation?
It's an invitation because, like, I feel like there is a tiredness that women in this stage of life have that actually serves them so well. And that probably sounds kind of funny, but it's like it's a tiredness of living to other people's expectations. And it's a tiredness of like putting themselves way too far down on the list of priorities. And, a tiredness of feeling like there's always something that I should be fixing about myself. And when women reach this stage and they're just like, I'm so tired, they often have this choice of like, they can either resign and just go, oh, well, I guess I'm just supposed to, just make it through the rest of my life. I just, it didn't turn out quite like I wanted. Or it's this invitation to go, wait a second, let me pause, let me kind of realign and redesign my life going forward. And so I call that pause. I'm a former theater kid. And so for me, the idea of telling stories and being an author in our own story is so empowering to me. And so I call that pause like our intermission, where we've lived act one, and now we need this like moment where we recalibrate, we reintroduce ourselves to ourselves, and then design act two in a way that's really fun and really hopeful and makes a lot of impact.
Oh, design act two. So it is an active process, isn't it? And that's the work that you do as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that process of designing act two.
When I think about designing act two, I really go back to what I know about story and that concept to be true. So it's like, first we have to get to know the main character again and understand the main character of the story, what drives her, what she wants in life, what her gifts are and her strengths are, where her blind spots are. And this is really the work. This is how I incorporate the use of the Enneagram tool. It's really helping people understand the main character of their story. And so it starts there. And it starts then with defining what is it that we want? What is our purpose in life? And I know that sounds really big, but the purpose of our life has been written across every decade. It's not this brand new discovery. It's more of a revealing that it's always been there. And we just need some space and some tools and some help to do that. And so we look at who's the main character, what is the purpose of their story, and then we look at who we're letting in the writer's room. Because if you're going to be designing act two of your life, you need to surround yourself with people who want the best for your story. And so we talk a lot about who we're living life with, like who's coming into this writer's room to write alongside us, to write this story, and what kind of story are we writing? It doesn't have to be a tragedy, even though there are really hard things that happen. It doesn't have to be a mystery, even though there are things we don't understand, but it really can be a story of hope and redemption and purpose. So that's kind of where I really lean into this story structure when I talk about designing act two.
Gosh, I love that, because I just putting myself in that as you were talking through it, I think so much of what I do is cling to the past and past successes, particularly around like body image and how I've always looked. And so there was a shift for me thinking about, no, but I get to design like my 50s and my 60s and my 70s and 80s. And
Yes.
it's a different mindset. I'm not the same person I was in my 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
That's actually a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. As long as you know who you are and you accept her and love her.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because there are women that I meet that have clung to the past in a way that is like, well, the best years are behind me. I wish I was still raising my kids, or I wish I was launching my career again because I would do it differently. I don't know. There's this past of like, well, the best is behind me. And what I hear you saying, Andrea, is that you've been able to shift into this like, wait a second, no, like the best can be in front of me. And that's amazing. And that is a huge gift. And it's what I want for all of these women that are walking through this midlife phase.
Yes. And we get to design it if we choose to. Yeah. And it does take courage because there's lots of uncertainty. I mean, it's vulnerable to name the future. So let's go a little deeper into how can Enneagram help with that. So use me as an example, Jen. So I am an Enneagram 7. How can I design my future knowing my Enneagram? Help me connect the dots with that. As an Enneagram 7, what coaching questions would you ask?
The beauty of the Enneagram in helping people design their future is that it will it will show you where you're going to hit roadblocks, and it will show you blind spots. And so as you're designing, you want, as a 7, I would say, how are we designing this? What practices are we incorporating there and keep you present in the moment?
That's
Because
great.
a 7, of course, loves to design. They love to
Yes.
plan. They love to
Yeah.
dream. They love to think ahead, and almost to the place where they can be in a moment, but thinking about the next moment.
Always anticipating.
Always anticipating and planning something. And that the idea of, if you want to grow as an Enneagram 7, you're going to work on staying present in the moment, which I know you've done a lot of that work and that's important to you. But if you don't know that about yourself and you don't realize, like, oh my goodness, you're so right. I do spend all this time in my head planning and anticipating and thinking about what's next, that I sort of miss what's right in front of me. So that would be one way.
That's great.
The other would be, I think as a 7, one of the most important things that's going to happen is you're going to have to walk through and really feel some of the pain of letting go of the past, and maybe pain that you potentially reframed or just sort of skipped over or ignored in the name of moving on. Those things have a way of sticking with us, whether we wanted to acknowledge them or not. And so as a 7, sometimes the work is to make sure that all that pain in the body and of the past has been processed and worked through in order to move forward with this clarity and renewed energy, purpose.
It's so good. And all of that really resonates. Yeah, it is. It's this very intentional inner work, isn't it?
Yes.
Recognizing those parts of ourselves. And I so appreciate how you talk so much about how there is nothing wrong with you. And I know the Enneagram has been a helpful tool to just help me realize, like, oh no, that's just my design.
Right.
And it serves me well in so many ways. I'll use the reframing as an example.
Okay.
I mean, I am a master reframer, rebounder. I don't hang on to things. I don't get hooked by things because I'm like, next. And so that serves me well in a lot of ways, but there are natural trouble spots that come along with that. So what you're saying is design rhythms into my life that help me to navigate those trouble spots, keep me present.
Yeah, to keep you present. And when you just become aware of the blind spots or the things that are going to trip you up, it's like awareness is an enormous help. And people sometimes think, well, it's not enough to just be aware. But honestly, awareness shifts your brain into a different mode, and it really does a lot of good. And then, of course, if you're combining that with some intentional practices, having a coach or a therapist, you're going to just make so much progress forward. But yeah, I like the Enneagram because I feel like it meets people where they are, and it says, hey, I see you, I get you. And there's a map here for how you can become the best version of you, not somebody else, not who, your best friend who you think is amazing, not her map, not who your mom told she thought you should be, but like there is a map for you specifically, and you're not alone. The number one thing I hear people say when they study the Enneagram, more than just, oh, it's funny memes on Instagram. Like, don't get me wrong. I love a funny Enneagram meme. I really do. I think they're funny. But there's so much more depth to it that when somebody actually studies it, they come out going, I thought I was broken. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was completely alone. And this has helped me to see that I'm not alone and I'm not broken. And yes, there are things that are getting in my way that, oh, okay, I took the blinders off and now I can see what's getting in the way, and I can deal with it.
I can deal with it.
Yeah.
That's part of getting to know yourself again also, isn't it? Because I think about the women in my circles and even in my own experience, I spent the last couple of decades very focused on other people and my family and raising my daughter. And so now it's like, what do I want? What do I like? What are my preferences?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have taken on the preferences of others. So it's such a like reconnection time.
Yes. Yes. And I love thinking about the years post menopause. Dr. Mindy Pell says this, and I just think it's amazing that biologically speaking, the reason why women live so many years after menopause, after they can no longer bear children to the world, I mean, it's like our body and our culture and our society kind of wants to go, okay, wrap it up. You did your thing, wrap it up. And no, no, no. Dr. Mindy reminds us that there's this grandmother hypothesis that the reason women live many, many, many years beyond their childbearing age years is because they are now wired for wisdom and mentorship and leadership and pouring into the world around them in a way that they were unable to do when they were actively in those childbearing years. And I know I'm speaking in a very generalized language there, but I think that really applies to all of us, whether we had children or didn't have children. It's like, what is the purpose of our life in Act 2? And it's really about serving the world around us in a way that is incredibly fulfilling because we understand who we are, we understand what we want, and we understand how we want to give back. And this is all part of the process of having your own intermission.
Well, and it's why relationships evolve and shift and end.
Yes.
How we showed up in Act 1 is different in Act 2, and that is going to make people uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think it happens a lot that you outgrow the Act 1 people. And that's hard for me to say because I'm an Enneagram 3 and I love relationships and I love people. And it's like, I would never consciously turn off a relationship. That's hard for me, but it's just true. And the beauty of being in Act 2 is you're okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
You go, I honored that.
Mm-hmm.
I did that well. And now it's okay for me to find my people for Act 2.
Yeah. For many years, I really struggled with my brother. And for all of the reasons you just said, it was a relationship that I had tolerated and pretended was fine. But there were all these underlying challenges and hurts that were never addressed. And then it all came out one day.
Oh boy.
And so we didn't speak for a while and it was strained. And I would say it's still strained-ish. But I think what's happened over the last year is both of us realizing this is just going to be different than our childhood. And we're probably not going to be super close. I'm never going to call him up and say, like, I had a bad day, because that's just not our dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
But I see the wonderful father that he is. I see how great he is to my aging parents. And so I'm really leaning in on this new relationship versus holding on to expectations based on the past and what I didn't get from him.
Yes.
And it has really shifted. I suspect as you are working with your clients that those are the kinds of conversations you're having about relationships.
Yes. And this idea of forgiveness and letting go. I mean, forgiveness towards other people, but also forgiveness of self. We carry so much baggage from Act 1 that we're not actually asked to carry. I mean, and I think the one I see the most often is forgiveness of the self. So maybe a person says, well, I know God has forgiven me. Maybe they're a person of faith, but I don't know. I can't quite get there with myself. And so that is a huge weight that I feel like women are carrying, and we don't have to.
No, and it serves you well as well to put that down.
Mm-hmm.
And because another thing I see, and I took this path for a bit. I said, like, I didn't speak to him for a year. There was one point I was like, F him, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't feel good. And it's like, what? Am I going to show up to family events and like not talk to him? Like, that's so inconsistent with who I am. Like,
Yeah.
this is a human that will be in my orbit for the rest of our living lives. Like, what am I going to do? Just be shitty? Like, that's not who I am at all.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not what I want. That feels awful.
Yes.
I'm not one to like talk bad about people, and like that doesn't feel good. So I also think it's like, what's it doing for you?
Right.
It's like the forgiveness of him, the getting really clear on what do I want this to look like? Like, that's for me.
That's for you. Because non-forgiveness, vengeance, it's like we say, it's like taking poison and hoping the other person will die.
Yeah.
Like you drink the poison, but you hope it hurts them. And it's like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. But what I like that you said, like, this isn't who I am. I think when we're defining our purpose in my program, when we're defining our purpose, we're also defining our high five values in life. And so those values that tell us how we want to live. And when our values are not lined up with our behaviors, it will feel off. Things will feel off. You'll have that same feeling you just said, like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like me. And that is just a red flag on, okay, something about this situation isn't aligned with my values. And how can we realign those in a way that is self-honoring and not just laying down like a doormat, but like in a way that honors you and your values and who you are.
It's so good. Yeah. And it's back to awareness. So many times that has come up. You said early on in our conversation, like, that's where it's at. Is like paying attention. How am I feeling in this situation? And choosing a course of action that gets you to where you want to be and how you want to feel. So this show is being at work. There are a lot of women in this phase working inside of organizations. How can organizations and leaders support midlife women?
This is such a great question. And I would want a leader who's leading a woman really at any age, but especially women who are middle to late career, to really value her voice and to begin to ask her, what is it that you see here? What is it that you want here? And hopefully this woman that gets asked this knows what she wants. If she can't answer that question, it's probably a signal that it's time to get to know herself a little bit. But I really want leaders to see women in this stage of life, like they're maybe sending kids off to college and they're empty nesting, or women who have gone through maybe becoming a widow or have gone through a divorce later in their marriage, or early on too. But this kind of this late 40s, 50s era of being able to see the wisdom and the strength that these women have and really viewing them as a unique asset to the organization, and to begin to equip them to be wisdom bearers and leaders and mentors in the organization, because they've been there. Like, they've been a 20-something at work,
right,
managing all the things. They've been a new mom or a newlywed, or they've done the things that the younger women in the organization are thinking are gonna kill them at this point. And these women have such wisdom available, and I would love to see leaders really harness that.
And what a source of strength that can be for the organization, for the culture, for everyone.
Yeah, seeing everyone for their unique value where they are, and not just for the job that they do, but really taking in the season of life that they're in and what that brings to the table.
And leveraging it. What is your hope for the people listening to this? What's your vision?
When I speak about this, my overwhelming desire is that women would notice a little glistening of hope. I always say that hope has a glisten to it. And if a woman is listening to this, or like, as you said in the intro, somebody who works with a woman of this age, or, I just want them to see, like, the story is not over. You're not winding down. You're relaunching, you're rebirthing, you get this beautiful, beautiful permission to take more authorship of what's happening for the rest of your life. And I want women to feel really valued for where they are and what Act 1 has done for them. If there's been pain, if there's been joy, if there's been hard, if there's been good, like, those are all gifts that Act 1 gives us, that we get to choose how we process them and move them forward with us, or we, process them and leave them behind. It's, I just want women to feel a lot of hope and a lot of agency.
That they get to choose.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good point. Are there a lot of women that you work with that feel stuck in circumstances, stuck in situations? Because I suspect, like, those are times when they may not feel like they have agency to design Act 2.
Yeah, feeling stuck is a terribly heavy and hopeless. I mean, stuck is sort of the antithesis of hope. And to those women, I would say, please reach out to another person who can walk with you to get unstuck. Because stuck is, and I say this with all love in my heart, stuck is a little bit of a mirage. I mean, it's almost a self-imposed limit. And I know it's painful, but you do have the strength inside you. You do have the courage. You do have the capacity to write something new,
regardless of circumstances.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't give away your power is what I hear in the focus on recognize the agency you do have.
You do. And you have this courage in you. You have this agency, and having someone to walk alongside you. I mean, we were not meant to do this life alone. That is so clear in every realm, was that life is not supposed to be lived in isolation. And so having a friend, having a mentor, having a therapist or a coach, like somebody that can help you take steps forward, is so key. I would never want somebody feeling stuck to feel like they were supposed to unstuck themselves alone. That's almost an impossible task. You really need a partner in that.
Yeah. And that's why you do the work that you do.
It is.
To be that partner.
It is.
So tell us about what you're excited about right now. What are you doing? And where can our listeners find you if they want to learn more?
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited because we just opened registration for the 3rd intermission cohort of women. This is a cohort up to 12 women that we kick off with a retreat in September. And then we meet together for 4 to 5 months as a cohort, but also with private individualized coaching. And so this is kind of the passion project I have called Intermission, and it walks you through this process of who am I, what do I want, what am I creating for Act 2. So I'm very excited. That registration just opened, and people can, if you're interested in learning more about the Enneagram, my summer podcast series is actually sort of a throwback to an overview of the numbers 1 through 9. And so
great.
Living Well Enneagram on all the podcast channels. If you want to just get a little review of the numbers, you can go to Living Well Enneagram, and we're actually going to just publish them for the summer series all at once so that people have that access. So that's probably the two things I'd mention right now. But I love the work I do. I feel like my path hasn't been a straight one to this work, but it has been the exact path I wouldn't have found this work if I had taken any sort of a straight path. So
Absolutely.
I feel really blessed to be in the work I am and in the act 2 that I'm trying to design myself.
Well, I have gotten to see you in action, and you are so good at it. You can feel your passion and sincerity around the work. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
The world needs more of you.
You know, I believe the world needs more women in this age group to go, hey, let's write great stories. Like, let's write this act 2 that like we can just create so many good things in the world. So I do have a hope and a mission that through the work, a lot of women will take that agency and write amazing stories.
Well, I share that with you, and I see it happening, and I feel it.
Thank you.
So I'm glad you're helping to lead the charge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate you, my friend.
Oh, thanks. It was so good to be here.
Oh my goodness, Jennifer gave us so much to sit with today. The story is not over. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are in the intermission, and Act 2 is yours to design. So a few things that I want to make sure you carry with you beyond this conversation. First, the who am I now question is an invitation. And the leaders who answer it with courage and curiosity are the ones who step into the most meaningful chapter of their lives. Second, awareness changes everything. Whether it's the Enneagram, a coach, a trusted friend, having a mirror that helps you see yourself clearly, maybe for the first time, is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself. And third, you are not meant to do this alone. Getting unstuck, designing what's next, writing a new story, none of that happens in isolation. Find your people. Find your writer's room. That is exactly the work we are passionate about at Abundant Empowerment. We believe that when leaders know who they are, embrace where they are, and lead from that place of wholeness and clarity, everything changes for them, for their teams, and for the world around them. So if today's conversation stirred something in you, that stirring is worth paying attention to. Come find our community at abundantempowerment.com. The link is in the show notes. And Jennifer Stanley, thank you for being a light for leaders who are ready to write something beautiful. And thank you, listeners, for being at work.